Hey kids! So, for those of you who don't live in America, AP testing stands for Advanced Placement, and basically means you're taking the equivalent of college classes while in high school. It's a little different from dual enrollment, which is where you're actively taking college classes at the same time as while being in high school, because AP classes are taught in high school and are actual high school classes that are just teaching college material. But they're things. And they also have fancy AP exams that happen in the first 2 weeks of May, and the scores come out in July. For those of you in America who are in high school, the scores are beginning to be released. Some states got them today, including the state where I currently am. So we're going to talk about AP Calc in as much as to say we never need to talk about AP Calc again, because but I got a 5 on the AP English Literature and Composition exam. And I'm quite proud of myself, because apparently this was the hardest the test has been all decade. And apparently, from a tweet I saw from someone who apparently is affiliated with the College Board, only like 5% of the people who took it got 5s. For anyone who lives outside of the US or lives in the US and just doesn't know how these things work, they're on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the worst and a 5 is the best. 1 and a 2 you fail. A 3 or above you pass. Usually somewhere between a 3 and a 5 can get you college credit. But all exams have a multiple choice section and an FRQ section, and FRQ stands for free response question. On the AP Lit exam, that's 3 essays, including a free response novel essay. So I'm going to teach you all how to prepare for the essay by using a case study of 1,000 Splendid Suns. Before we get any further, I'm going to butcher a whole bunch of names. 1,000 Splendid Suns is by Khaled Hosseini, and this is not the book that I used for the essay, but it's the book that I liked the most when I read it, and I did the best job at preparing for. What I used for the essay was The Importance of Being Earnest. I did, however, know a kid who used 1,000 Splendid Suns. I'm just going to teach you how to prepare. A couple basic facts that you really gotta know. And that's your title, your author, your date of publication, your genre, and your structure of your story. Also, there will be spoilers, let's be clear. So, if you're gonna read the book for your class, do that first, because it's worth reading. So the title is 1,000 Splendid Suns. The author is Khaled Hosseini. It was published in 2007. The genre is realistic fiction. The structure of the story is, it's divided into chapters. It has 4 parts, and it's divided into talking about the past and the characters present. In addition, if you can provide some sort of historical information for the period of the publication or the setting, that would be great. So the story takes place in Afghanistan from roughly 1974 to 2003. And that influences the themes of war and inequality of women. And then you have the setting of publication in America of USA 2007, which does not particularly influence this book. It does influence some books. Then the next important thing to analyze is the style of narration. This book is mostly discussed in third-person omniscient. It is in the past for 3 parts, and the present tense for the 4th part. So The first part focuses on the character of Miriam, the second on Layla, and the third switches pretty consistently between the two, and the fourth focuses on Layla. Though there is occasionally, within that general framework, another character it focuses on. Then you want to create a major plot, events/conflicts timeline where you identify what's called key turning points in the narrative. And a turning point is where a plot point changes the whole focus of a character, not just the progression of the story, but the way that a character thinks. It's where someone experiences a radical shift. So I'm gonna run through these so I can identify what a turning point is. And like I said, there are spoilers. And like I said, we're also really struggling with names. Miriam goes to visit Jalil. Nana dies. That's a turning point. Also, I'm not going to tell you why things are turning points, because I really want to make you do some of this work. Miriam marries Rashid. Miriam is raped. That's a turning point. Then we shift to Layla. Layla is kept home from school. Layla and Tariq have sex. Layla's parents die. Layla discovers she's pregnant. That's a turning point for her. Layla marries Rashid. Then we hit the next segment. Aziza is born. Layla and Miriam drink tea. That's a turning point. It doesn't sound like a big plot point, but it's a turning point. Attempted escape and following abuse. Zalmai is born. Then there's the next section. Rashid's store burns. Aziza is put in an orphanage. Tariq returns. Rashid tries to strangle Layla. That's a turning point. Miriam kills Rashid. Then the final section. Layla, Tariq, Aziza, and Zalmai escape. Layla, Tariq, Aziza, and Zalmai return to Kabul. She gets the Pinocchio VHS and works at the orphanage. That would be a turning point, except it's the end of the novel. All of that is plot. You need to know that like the back of your hand. Then you need to know at least 3 significant quotes and why they're significant. And here, I have 4. I'm gonna pick 2 to read to you, and I'm gonna explain their significance. But I will not give you the page numbers, actually, because I didn't write them down. That is stupid. You should write them down. So the first quote that I'm selecting is, "Women like us, we endure. It's all we have." And the reason that's a significant or memorable quote is that Nana instills the idea of endurance in Miriam, and then Miriam does it. She endures unimaginable horror after horror her entire life post-teapot. Yet Nana has led Miriam astray, and Miriam recognizes thus. She has one more trait than endurance, autonomy. So she acts, and in that moment ends 2 lives, Rashid's and hers, and changes at least 5 more. Women, though incredibly limited, have power. The second quote is, "There is no shame in this, Miriam." Nana told Miriam her whole life, post-teapot, that she is shameful. Her whole worldview has become shame-oriented just for being born. Yet here, after Rashid's truly shameful act of rape, he tells her that this is fine. It's ironic and enraging. That's why that quote is significant, because for the first time, there's something that she's a part of that is actually shameful, and she's being told that it's not shameful. Like, let's be clear, she doesn't deserve shame for it, because he's the rapist and he deserves shame. But the rape deserves shame. Like I said, you should have at least 3 on hand. More is better. Then you need to know major characters. And for the major characters, you need to know 4 things. You need to know their name, who they are in relation to other people and the plot and whatever, They're function/purpose/significant things, which I'll explain in examples, and then adjectives, plural, to describe them. Because one is not enough. People are complex, and characters are complex. So I'm gonna do 2 characters, one major and one minor-ish. So the first I'm gonna do is Miriam, who is a main character. Who is this? Nana's and Jalila's bastard, Rashid's first wife and killer, kind of family of Layla and crew. Function/purpose/significant things. Now this is what's really important. She illustrates more than anyone the abuse of Afghanistan. She illustrates the result of constant struggle, and she shows the power of choice. Adjectives: sacrificial, long-suffering, autonomous. I always tried to get 3 adjectives. The second character I'm going to do is Babby, who is Layla's dad. And his function/purpose or significant things about him are: he illustrates what a positive view of gender equality in women's education looks like. He also inspires Layla to value herself. So he's like a super minor character, but he's also really important for why he's there. And adjectives to describe him are gentle, wise, and comforting. Then the next thing you want to do is look at opposition of ideas. Every book has this. Every book is about at least one major class of ideologies or worldviews. That's where conflict comes from. Conflict isn't about people fighting each other, or man versus nature, or nature versus God, or whatever your AP Lit teacher's telling you. Conflict is about ideas. And so the more complex a book is, the more opposition of ideas there will be. In this book, I found 4, and I'm going to tell you all 4 of them, because you're going to have to probably justify them if you ever use them in AP Lit. So the 4 I found were individual freedom versus religious doctrine, defeat versus resilience, hope versus despair, which is a little bit the same, but not exactly. And I can get into the difference if you want in the comments. And legally acceptable versus morally acceptable. Which there's probably a better way to word it than that, but that's what we have. There's a couple of more hodgepodge things you want to pick up. So we talked a bit about the setting earlier, but you really gotta know details. Like time and important locations. We talked about the time. It's earlier than 1974 through 2003. But locations within the book, other than just Afghanistan, there's the Kolba, there's Herat, Kabul, Pakistan, somewhere in there, back to the Kolba, and then back to Kabul. Then you want to talk about notable literary devices and their functions. So this is like symbols, motifs, allusions, and things of that nature. The biggest allusion is the phrase, "A thousand splendid suns," which is taken from an Afghanistan poem. I'm not going to tell you more about that. Except women. Then there's a bit of foreshadowing, where the tea set is Miriam, and then there's some symbolism with Pinocchio and freedom. You are going to want to pick out the significance of the opening and the closing scene. The opening scene is significant because Miriam breaks the teacup, which signifies how her life will be reduced to shambles. Yet the rest of the tea set is intact, just as Miriam endures. The significance of the ending/closing scene is that Layla has found her sanctuary, but her life is not safe. She and Afghanistan still have healing to do, and the freedom they relish is tenuous at best and temporary at worst. Finally, you want themes. These are phrases that attempt to say truths about life, because every book has a moral. Some are more obvious than others. And you're gonna try and find 3. And I'm gonna tell you 2. Number 1. People are capable of enduring unfathomable suffering. And number 2. Having one abusive/tyrannical ruler is not better than another. That's 1,000 Splendid Suns as analyzed for AP Lit. That is how I was ready to get a 5 using that book. That's how I studied the importance of being earnest as well. Actually, not as well. I studied the importance of being earnest by being a swing in the importance of being earnest. That's why I didn't analyze it, because I did not do nearly that much work, because I lived and breathed that play. But that test was hard. So. And hey, if you did well, congrats to you. If you didn't do well, you can't have done worse than me on AP Calc. And if you think I'm trying to be sympathetic, there's a limit to how bad you can do. And if I say you can't do worse than I did on AP Calc, I probably mean it. I hope this is helpful for some of you. I hope this was fun for others of you. If for some reason you watched this and you haven't read this, I really encourage you to read 1,000 Splendid Suns. It is dark, it is sad, I hate it so much. But, like, it's so good. I hope you have a great day.